In the frozen heart of Montana, a blizzard was closing in fast when a father and daughter stumbled upon something extraordinary, buried beneath the snow. It wasn't a pet. It wasn't even supposed to survive the night. But what happened next would shake everything we thought we knew about nature. This wasn't just about rescue. It was about transformation. A bobcat kitten, raised by dogs, acting like one of their own, running, barking, even protecting the farm. But could love rewrite instinct? And when the wild calls back, what would Scout choose? The winter find. The wind swept fiercely across the snow-covered plains of Kalispell, Montana, lashing through the towering evergreens that guarded the edge of the Thompson property. It was late December, and the kind of cold that stung through 3 layers of clothing settled over the valley like a silent predator. At the edge of a small farm, nestled against the Flathead National Forest, 12-year-old Luna Thompson trudged through the snow, her gloved hand securely wrapped around her father's. Michael Thompson was a man built by the outdoors, tall, weathered, with a salt and pepper beard and sharp eyes that had studied wildlife for over 20 years. A biologist by trade, his days were often spent tracking prints in the snow or tagging trail cameras. But today, he wasn't working. Today, he was simply trying to get his daughter and their dogs home before the worst of the snowstorm struck. "Stay close," he said, his breath curling into the air like smoke. "I am," Luna replied, her eyes wide behind fogged glasses, clutching a small, leather-bound sketchbook under her arm. Bounding ahead of them, 3 German shepherds cut paths through the deepening snow. Ranger, the eldest, led the way with calm authority. His black and tan coat bristled in the wind. His ears perked at every distant snap of branch or rustle of snow. Behind him trailed Blitz, a lighter-colored male with endless energy, and Maple, the youngest, dark with golden tones and a playful bounce in every step. "Do you think the deer are already bedded down?" Luna asked, always curious, always watching. "Most likely. Even the tough ones don't wander too far in this kind of cold," Michael said, eyes scanning the tree line. Their farmhouse stood about a mile back through the woods, a 2-story structure built from pine and cedar, smoke already rising from the chimney where Rebecca, Michael's wife, was preparing the fire. The Thompsons had lived here for almost 8 years, choosing a quiet life on the edge of wilderness, where Michael could conduct his field work and Rebecca could operate her small animal clinic from the converted barn beside the house. As they crested a small rise near the tree line, Ranger suddenly stopped. His entire body went still, muscles tight, head low, nose raised to the air. In a heartbeat, Blitz and Maple mirrored him, forming a silent triangle. "What's he found?" Luna whispered, instinctively lowering her voice. Michael didn't answer immediately. He knelt, watching. Ranger's ears flicked toward a fallen tree about 15 feet off the trail. Then, without a sound, the dog broke formation and sprinted toward the log, snow spraying behind him like smoke from an engine. Blitz and Maple followed. Michael stood up, pulse quickening. "Come on," he said to Luna. Together they raced through the snow after the dogs. What they were about to find would unravel everything they thought they knew about instinct and change their lives forever. Snow crunched under Michael's boots as he and Luna hurried toward the fallen pine where the dogs had gathered. The wind whipped harder now, flinging flecks of snow into their faces, but neither of them slowed. Ranger stood with his body angled protectively, Blitz circling behind, while Maple let out a low whine, ears back, tail stiff. "Easy, girl," Michael said softly, as he crouched beside the dogs. Luna peered over his shoulder, and her breath caught. Nestled into a hollow beneath the thick trunk was a small, trembling form, barely the size of a house cat. Its tawny fur was matted with blood, thin legs tucked underneath its shivering frame. Even in the dim light, its markings were unmistakable. "A bobcat?" Luna gasped. Michael nodded, already stripping off his right glove. "Kitten. Looks like 8, maybe 9 weeks old. She's hurt." The kitten blinked slowly, her pale blue eyes glassy with pain and exhaustion. Her ears, tufted and rounded at the tips, twitched once, and her short, bobbed tail was curled tight against her body. She didn't growl, didn't flinch. She was too weak to move. Michael gently placed his hand over her chest. "Still breathing. She's cold. Real cold." Then he noticed something else. A thin trail of blood leading away from the tree, disappearing into the brush toward the deeper forest. He followed it with his eyes and spotted the glint of something metallic barely buried under a drift. "Trap," he muttered bitterly. Luna's eyes widened. "You think her mom? Likely caught, or worse." Illegal steel-jaw traps weren't unheard of in remote areas like these, even though they were banned. Poachers had been active around Flathead in recent months, and this, Michael knew, was likely a casualty of that cruelty. Luna knelt beside the bobcat, her voice trembling. "She's just a baby." Ranger stepped forward and, without warning, lowered his head and gently licked the kitten's ear. It was a slow, deliberate motion, one Michael recognized instantly as pack behavior. Not dominance, not aggression. Acceptance. "Dad, did you see that?" "I did." He glanced toward the horizon. The snow was thickening fast, the sky a curtain of white. They had maybe 30 minutes before visibility dropped completely. Michael hesitated. As a biologist, he knew what he should do. Leave the animal. Let nature take its course. But as a father and a man who had watched this forest take as much as it gave, he couldn't walk away. He opened his parka, tucked the tiny bobcat inside, against his chest, and zipped it up. "She won't survive out here," he said quietly. "Not tonight." Luna looked up at him, eyes wide. "Are we taking her home?" Michael nodded. And with that, they turned back toward the house, 3 dogs at their side, one wild secret beating faintly beneath Michael's coat. A wild guest. The front door slammed shut behind them as the warmth of the farmhouse embraced their frozen bodies. Michael quickly unzipped his coat and gently eased the bobcat kitten into a thick fleece blanket Luna had fetched from the couch. She was limp, eyes barely open, a shallow breath the only proof of life. Rebecca Thompson came down the stairs, wiping her hands on a towel. Tall, composed, and sharply intelligent, she was dressed in a simple sweater and jeans. Her long auburn hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. "I was starting to worry." She stopped mid-sentence when she saw what Michael cradled. Her expression changed in an instant. "Michael, tell me that isn't what I think it is." "It's a bobcat," Luna said quickly. "She's just a baby and hurt." Michael stepped into the kitchen and laid the bundle gently on the table, brushing the blanket back to reveal the small, battered creature. "She wouldn't have made it through the storm." Rebecca's jaw tightened. "You know what the wildlife code says. This could cost us everything. Your permits, my license." Michael met her gaze calmly. "I'm not planning to raise a wildcat in secret. I'm trying to stop it from dying on our porch." Rebecca walked over and examined the kitten with the swift precision of a trained vet. Severely underweight, dehydrated, hypothermic, lower left paws injured, could be from a trap. "You found one nearby?" He nodded. "Damn poachers," she muttered under her breath. She reached into a cabinet and pulled out a small animal stethoscope, then a heat pad. Her hands moved expertly. No hesitation, no wasted motion. Despite her earlier protest, her instincts had taken over. She was a healer first, a bureaucrat second. Luna hovered nearby. "Can we keep her, just until she gets better?" Rebecca didn't answer right away. She placed a heating pad in a small box, lined it with fleece, and laid the kitten inside. Then she turned to her daughter. "This isn't a house cat, Luna. Even as a baby, she's a predator. Her instincts are different. She may never be tame." "She's not trying to hurt us," Luna argued softly. She let Dad carry her, and Ranger licked her head. That made Rebecca pause. Wait, what? Michael nodded. All three dogs surrounded her, Ranger especially. No aggression, no stress signals. It was strange. Rebecca crossed her arms, skeptical. Dogs usually react to predators, even young ones. I know. That's why I brought her in. For a long moment, silence settled in the room. The fire crackled in the hearth, and the snow pelted against the windows with a rhythmic hiss. Rebecca stared at the tiny bobcat, then sighed, rubbing her forehead. All right, but she stays in the kitchen, and no touching her unless I say so. If she survives the night, we'll call wildlife services. But I'm warning you, odds aren't good. Michael nodded. Understood. As Rebecca turned away to prepare a glucose solution, Luna whispered to the kitten. I'm going to name you Scout, she said with a quiet smile, because you're going to learn everything. From the corner of the room, Ranger sat watching, his dark eyes fixed on the box. Something in him knew Scout wasn't just another animal. She was already family. By morning, the storm had buried the landscape in nearly 2 feet of snow, but inside the Thompson farmhouse, the world was quiet. The fire still glowed softly, casting a warm hue across the wooden floorboards. The silence was broken only by the faint rustle of movement coming from the kitchen. Michael stepped into the room, expecting to find Scout curled up in the corner of her box, if she'd made it through the night at all. Instead, he stopped in his tracks. All 3 shepherds were gathered in a tight circle around the box. Ranger lay closest, his body curved protectively along one side. Maple's head rested gently on the edge of the box, while Blitz sat nearby, alert but calm. In the center, Scout was nestled between Ranger's massive paws, her tiny frame rising and falling with slow, steady breaths. Michael didn't move. He just watched. Scout's body twitched slightly, a soft mule escaping her mouth as she shifted in her sleep. Ranger didn't flinch. Instead, he lowered his snout and nudged her lightly, then resumed his watch. The scene didn't make sense. Not biologically, not behaviorally. Wild bobcats were solitary from birth. German shepherds, especially those raised on a farm with working instincts, should have treated her as a threat, or at the very least an intruder. But here they were, forming a protective barrier, like she was one of their own. When Rebecca walked in moments later, coffee mug in hand, she froze as well. Is she sleeping with them? Michael nodded. I didn't put her there. Rebecca stepped closer, observing the dog's relaxed postures, the way they occasionally glanced at Scout, not with suspicion, but with something eerily close to concern. This isn't normal, she said quietly. No, Michael agreed. But it's real. From the hallway, Luna appeared, still in her pajamas, clutching her sketchbook. She peeked inside and smiled, eyes shining. I told you, she whispered. They like her. Rebecca placed a hand on Michael's arm, her voice softening. If she survives the next few days, we'll need to decide what to tell the wildlife department. Michael looked down at the kitten, curled into the heart of the pack. One day at a time, he said. Because sometimes nature doesn't follow rules. Sometimes it writes its own story. Unusual imitation begins. By the second week, something strange began to happen. Scout wasn't just recovering, she was observing, watching, mimicking. She followed Ranger with wide, curious eyes wherever he went, as if every move he made was a lesson. When Ranger sat by the back door, staring out over the snow-covered fields, Scout sat beside him, her small body adopting the exact same pose, ears forward, shoulders square. When Maple dashed after a snowball Luna tossed, Scout gave chase too, her stubby tail flicking with excitement, claws barely catching in the packed snow as she tried to keep up. But it wasn't just play. She started responding when called. "Scout!" Luna would call across the yard, and the bobcat would stop, turn, and trot toward her, with hesitant but deliberate steps, like a puppy still figuring out its legs. Rebecca stood at the kitchen window one afternoon, watching the scene unfold. Scout and Blitz were wrestling in the snow, but it wasn't a bobcat's fierce play. It was clumsy, exaggerated, the way dogs play fight. Scout pounced forward, batted Blitz with a paw, then yelped and bolted with a strange, chirping squeak when Blitz gently nudged her side. "She's imitating them," Rebecca murmured. Michael leaned over her shoulder. "You see it too. I've treated dozens of wild cats. They don't do this. Not with dogs. Not with humans." Michael started recording videos on his phone, partly for documentation, partly because he didn't think anyone would believe him otherwise. One clip showed Scout dragging a frayed rope toy toward Blitz and nudging it forward. Another captured her strange vocal attempts, a raspy yowl that sounded suspiciously like a dog trying to bark. The internet agreed. When Luna posted a clip of Scout and Maple running side by side through the snow, ears flying, the response was instant. Comments poured in from wildlife experts, pet owners, and stunned viewers around the world. Some called it adorable, others unnatural, but all of them watched and shared. The video passed 500,000 views within days. Still, the most remarkable part wasn't online. It was in the quiet moments. Like when Ranger barked once at the sight of a coyote near the tree line, and Scout, silent and focused, flanked him from the other side like she'd done it her whole life. Or when she curled up beside Blitz on the porch, mimicking the shepherd's breathing pattern, her paws twitching in sync during sleep. "She doesn't think she's a cat," Luna whispered one evening, sketching them in the firelight. "She thinks she's one of them." And maybe she was right. By the end of the month, Scout had become more than a curiosity. She was a phenomenon. Luna's short clips of the bobcat playing fetch, mimicking the dogs, or curling up between Ranger and Blitz on the porch had turned her small YouTube channel into a viral sensation. One video titled, "Bobcat Thinks She's a German Shepherd," hit over 1 million views in 10 days. National news outlets started requesting interviews. Wildlife forums erupted with debates, and even educators began referencing Scout as a case study in animal behavior classes. But with attention came scrutiny. One afternoon, a white SUV with the seal of the Montana Wildlife Conservation Department rolled up the Thompson driveway. Ranger Martinez stepped out, a stern man in his early 50s, with a neatly trimmed beard and deep-set eyes that had seen a lot of backwoods violations. He was respected, not feared, but everyone in Kalispell knew he took the law seriously. Michael met him at the gate, Scout trailing behind like a shadow. "She always follow you like that?" Martinez asked, narrowing his eyes. "She's more consistent than my dogs," Michael said dryly. Inside the house, Rebecca poured coffee, while Martinez sat at the kitchen table, notepad in hand. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he began. "But we received multiple reports, photos, videos, even a letter from someone claiming you're harboring a wild animal illegally." Michael nodded. "We expected this." Martinez leaned back, folding his arms. "So tell me, how does a wild bobcat end up thinking it's a dog?" Rebecca pulled up her files. Health records, feeding schedules, weight charts, behavioral notes. "She was barely alive when we found her," she explained. "We expected her to die within hours. The dogs, they took to her, protected her. She started mimicking them. It wasn't trained. It just happened." Martinez glanced out the window, where Scout was patrolling the yard beside Ranger, stopping every few feet to sniff the wind. "She comes when called?" he asked. "Almost always," Luna piped in, "and she sleeps with the dogs every night." Martinez scratched his chin. "It's impressive, But impressive doesn't override state law. You need a permit for wildlife possession. We applied for one, Michael said, still waiting to hear back. Well, until that's processed, I have to write this down as a formal warning. If the application is denied... He didn't finish the sentence. Rebecca's voice dropped. What happens if it's denied? She'll have to be surrendered for relocation. Rehab, maybe a sanctuary. Silence fell. Scout, unaware, trotted back into the house, tail twitching. She leapt lightly onto the couch beside Maple and curled up, purring softly. Martinez watched her for a long moment. Let's just hope your paperwork goes through, he said quietly. Because what was sitting on that couch wasn't just a bobcat. It was something entirely new. The permit denial. Spring crept in slowly that year, dripping snowmelt from the eaves and painting the pines in a brighter green. The farm thawed, the winds calmed, and Scout grew. She was no longer the frail kitten they had rescued from beneath the pine. Her legs had lengthened, muscles rippled beneath her spotted coat, and her gait carried the sleek power of her species. Yet her eyes, when she looked at Luna or the dogs, still held that same quiet recognition, that same trust. Every day, she and the dogs patrolled the boundary of the property. Ranger would lead, Blitz would charge ahead, and Scout trotted at Maple's side, all four moving with uncanny synchronicity. It was a rhythm now, an unspoken routine, a strange pack that had learned to move as one. But inside the house, tension grew. For weeks, Michael checked the mailbox and inbox daily. Each time, he came up empty. Finally, a letter arrived, official, crisp, cold. Permit denied. The wording was bureaucratic, emotionless. Applicant's environment unsuitable for permanent housing of non-domesticated species. Risk of hybrid behavioral disruption. Relocation required. Rebecca read it twice, then sat down at the kitchen table in silence. They didn't even come to assess her, she said bitterly. Just made a decision on paper. Michael clenched the letter in his fist. They didn't see what she's become. They didn't see what we see every day. Luna had overheard it all from the hallway. Her feet were bare on the wood floor, trembling. They're taking her. We don't know when, Michael said, trying to soften his voice. But, yes, they want to relocate her somewhere far. A rehab facility. She's not sick, Luna snapped. She's not wild. Rebecca stood and crossed the room, pulling Luna into her arms. They don't understand, sweetheart. They're looking at her through rules, not through love. That evening, the house sat heavy in quiet dread. Scout curled beside the hearth, flanked by Ranger and Maple. She stretched out her legs and yawned, her tail twitching lazily. She didn't know the world beyond their walls was closing in again. Later that night, Michael stepped out onto the porch, staring out into the darkness. The stars above Kalispell flickered like distant embers, indifferent and unmoved. Blitz sat beside him, panting quietly. What do we do, buddy? Michael murmured. How do you fight instinct and law with something as soft as love? The dog didn't answer, but from inside the house, Scout let out a soft yip, not a bobcat's growl, but something closer to a shepherd's bark. And that sound said more than Michael ever could. Release into the wild. The call came just 3 days after the permit denial. The Wildlife Conservation Department had reviewed the case. Their decision stood. A reintroduction plan had been drafted, and Scout was to be released into a monitored wilderness zone, approximately 100 yards beyond the Thompson property. No appeals, no exceptions. Rebecca fought to keep her voice steady as she relayed the instructions. They'll give her a GPS collar, track her movements, see if she adapts. Michael nodded, staring at the folded map on the table. And if she doesn't? They'll consider alternatives, she said bitterly. Luna didn't speak. She just got up, went to Scout's sleeping area, and sat beside her, arms around the bobcat's neck. Scout nuzzled in, sensing something wrong, her wild yellow eyes watching her family closely. The release day arrived under a dull, gray sky. The winds were quiet, but a chill clung to the morning air. Ranger Martinez returned, accompanied by a wildlife technician carrying a tranquilizer kit and GPS collar. No darting was needed. Scout remained calm, even as the technician gently fit the soft strap around her neck. She blinked slowly, confused but unafraid. Michael carried her cage to the truck himself, every step feeling like he was placing a piece of his heart on the execution block. The dogs trailed them, uneased and restless. When the door of the cage finally closed, the howling began. Ranger let out a deep, guttural cry, low and mournful. Maple whimpered and clawed at the tailgate. Blitz barked again and again, almost frantically. The pack didn't understand why one of their own was being taken, only that she was. At the release site, nestled in a shallow valley bordered by a fast-running stream, Michael opened the cage. Scout stepped out slowly, her ears flicking in all directions. She sniffed the air, took a cautious step forward, then stopped. She turned and looked back. Luna stood just behind her father, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. "Go if you have to," she whispered. "But please, don't forget us." Then, a rustle in the underbrush. A rabbit, perhaps. Or maybe just the wind. But it was enough. Scout's head snapped toward the sound, instincts taking over. And in an instant, she was gone, slipping into the forest like a ghost, her spotted coat vanishing among the trees. No one spoke. On the ride home, the GPS tracker blinked softly on the tablet in Michael's lap, each pulse showing Scout's direction, away from them. "It'll be okay," he murmured, though even he didn't know if it was true. Back at the house, the dogs refused to come inside. They sat on the porch, eyes locked on the distant hills where their sister had disappeared, waiting, listening, signs of a return. The first days were the hardest. The house felt empty, like a part of it had been carved out and left somewhere in the woods. Meals were quieter, laughter rarer. Even the dogs had changed. Blitz, once full of boundless energy, barely touched his food. Maple wandered the house at night, nose pressed to doors and windows. Ranger took to sitting at the highest point on the property, a grassy rise near the old shed, staring into the trees for hours, as if willing Scout to come back. But it was the GPS data that gave them hope. Luna checked it obsessively, sometimes 5 or 6 times an hour. At first, Scout moved in wide, cautious circles near the release site, scouting for shelter, food, and water. Then she started to drift, south, then west, then north again. There was no frantic zigzag, no sign of disorientation. Her pattern wasn't random. "She's not wandering," Michael said one night, pointing at the screen. "She's mapping, learning, choosing." "Choosing what?" Rebecca asked. "Her path." By the end of the 5th day, Scout had traveled nearly 30 miles. She paused at a river crossing, one widened by spring melt. Michael held his breath, watching the blinking signal linger at the water's edge for nearly 6 hours. Then, just before dawn, it moved. Scout had crossed. "How?" Luna asked. "Bobcats hate water." Michael smiled faintly. "She grew up with dogs who love it." Day 7 brought another challenge. A busy stretch of road just outside a small town. The GPS showed Scout pacing the roadside for over 3 hours before darting across during a break in traffic. It was dangerous, calculated, and intentional. Every move brought her closer. "She's coming home," Luna whispered. "Isn't she?" Michael didn't answer at first. Then he nodded. "She's trying." By the 10th day, her movements had slowed. She was pausing longer between stops, likely hunting or resting. Each time, however, she resumed in the same direction, toward the Thompson farm. And then, on the 12th night, the signal vanished. Michael stared at the blank screen in disbelief. The last ping came from a rocky outcrop just 40 miles from the property. "Could be the collar," Rebecca said. "It could have caught on something." "Or worse," Luna murmured. The family searched the area for an entire day. They found the frayed collar strap dangling from a low-hanging branch. No blood, no fur, no Scout. The next 3 days were a hollow waiting game, each moment stretched by fear and hope. The dogs were restless, the house quiet, and the hills eerily still. But in Michael's gut, something pulsed. A stubborn belief that Scout wasn't done yet. She was more than Bobcat. She was Thompson, the signal stops. The days dragged like fog over the mountains. Since the GPS signal vanished, the Thompsons had lived in a strange limbo, part dread, part hope. Without the blinking dot to follow, their only clues came from the land itself. Michael retraced every inch of terrain near the last known location. He set up trail cams, left out bait, even marked trees with scent strips. Nothing. Luna barely left her room. When she did, it was only to walk to the hill where Ranger sat every afternoon, still watching the woods. She sat beside him in silence, sketchbook open but untouched. Maple would sometimes whine softly, while Blitz scratched at the dirt like he was trying to dig answers from the ground. Rebecca made calls. Wildlife stations, veterinary clinics, rescue groups. No sightings, no reports. It was as if Scout had simply disappeared. She could have been injured, Rebecca admitted quietly one evening. She could have been scared off by another predator. There are wolves out there, bears. Michael ran a hand through his graying hair. "I know. But you don't believe it." "No," he said firmly. Because she wasn't running wild, she was running home. They tried to return to normal, at least for Luna's sake. But dinner felt forced, laughter absent. Every creak on the porch or howl from the woods made them pause, waiting for something, anything. Nothing came. Until the 16th night. It had been raining earlier that day, but now the moon hung low and bright, casting silver across the wet grass. The family sat at the table, half eating, half silent, when it happened. The dogs jolted to their feet. All three at once. Ranger first, then Blitz and Maple. Tails stiff, ears forward, bodies trembling with anticipation. They didn't bark. Not yet. They ran. Michael was the first to rise, heart in his throat. He threw the door open, nearly knocking over his chair. And there, standing at the edge of the yard, soaked, muddy, and thinner than they remembered, was Scout. She stood frozen for a heartbeat, staring at the house with wide eyes. Her coat was matted. Her left leg had a small cut. But she was there, alive, breathing, real. "Scout!" Luna screamed, already running. The Bobcat broke into a sprint, not a cautious prowl, but a full, joyous dash. Her paws splashed across puddles as she flew into Luna's arms. The three dogs met her halfway, and the four bodies collided in a blur of fur and motion, whining, chirping, barking. Michael and Rebecca stood at the porch, stunned. "She made it," Rebecca whispered. "No," Michael said, watching Scout press her face against Ranger's chest. "She came back." There were no words for what they felt, only awe. Because against every law of instinct, every rule of nature, Scout had made the choice, and love had led her home. Ranger's decision. Scout didn't re-enter the house like a ghost returning from the wild. She charged in like she'd never left. Ranger pushed the door open with his nose, as if granting her re-entry, and Scout walked in proudly. Muddy paws, torn whiskers, and all. She paused only to glance back at her brothers, then leapt straight onto the living room rug and curled up beside the hearth like it was her throne. Blitz bounded after her, circling in excitement, while Maple whined and licked the dirt from her face. The three shepherds crowded around her like a protective wall, tongues out, tails wagging. The pack was whole again. But it was Ranger's behavior that surprised Michael most. The old dog sat at a distance, just for a moment, watching Scout from the edge of the room. His ears twitched, his head tilted. Then slowly, deliberately, he walked over, sniffed her once from nose to tail, and lay beside her, shoulder to shoulder. It was the same thing he had done the night they first found her, anointing her, accepting her. Only this time, it wasn't an invitation. It was recognition. "She's one of them," Michael said softly. She passed whatever test he needed. Rebecca knelt beside Scout to examine her. The Bobcat's front leg bore a shallow wound, probably where the GPS collar had snagged. Her ribs showed slightly, and her paw pads were worn from miles of travel. But she was alert, responsive, not wild-eyed or defensive. "She's okay," Rebecca said, tears threatening her voice. "Bruised, hungry, but okay." Luna couldn't stop touching her, stroking her ears, her back, her thick tail that flicked playfully against Maple's leg. "She came back on her own," she said to Michael. "They can't take her again. She chose us." Michael looked down at the Bobcat, lying in the very same position as Ranger, head upright, alert, watching the room like a sentry. "She didn't just survive the wild," he murmured. "She rejected it." Later that evening, after Scout had eaten and curled up in the blanket-lined crate she used to sleep in, Michael made the call. Ranger Martinez answered on the second ring. "She's back," Michael said simply. Martinez was silent for a long moment. "Alive?" "Yes." "Unreal." "I need you to see her, to see this with your own eyes." When the ranger arrived the next morning, he found Scout curled in a tight ball between Blitz and Maple, purring softly. Ranger stood beside them, unmoving, like a sentinel. When Martinez approached, Scout didn't run. She just stared. "I'll write the report," he said finally. "But this isn't a bobcat anymore. Not in the wild sense." Michael nodded. "Then maybe the law should catch up to nature." Because sometimes, leadership isn't about control. Sometimes it's about knowing when something rare deserves to stay. Scout's evaluation. 2 weeks later, the director of the Montana Wildlife Conservation Department arrived at the Thompson farm in a silver SUV. With her came a zoologist from Bozeman University and Ranger Martinez. Unlike the first visit, this wasn't about enforcement. It was an evaluation, a final decision to determine Scout's fate. Luna stood on the porch gripping Michael's hand, heart pounding. Rebecca waited by the gate with the dogs seated obediently at her side. Scout sat just behind them, head tilted, ears twitching as the strangers approached. "She knows something's different," Rebecca whispered. The zoologist, Dr. Tanya Velasquez, knelt immediately, her eyes scanning Scout's posture, tail position, and breathing. No signs of stress, no fear, just alert curiosity. She slowly extended her hand. Scout didn't hiss or retreat. Instead, she leaned forward and sniffed, her nose brushing the sleeve of Dr. Velasquez's jacket. "Incredible," the zoologist murmured. "That's social imprinting behavior, extremely rare in felines." Over the next 4 hours, the team observed Scout in every context, interacting with the dogs, responding to commands, patrolling the fence line with Ranger, even responding when Luna whistled from the barn. At one point, Scout carried a stick to Blitz and dropped it at his paws, playfully pawing at his side. "She mimics canine play behavior almost perfectly," Dr. Velasquez noted. "Look at that tail movement. That's not predatory, that's a social invitation." Director Halverson, a stern woman with decades in conservation law, watched silently, arms crossed, eyes following every movement. Finally, she spoke. "I've worked with mountain lions, ocelots, and bobcats for 30 years. I've seen rescued kittens adapt to humans. But this..." She paused, looking directly at Scout, who was now grooming Maple's ear. "This challenges everything we know." Michael stepped forward. She made the journey back on her own, crossed rivers, highways, rival territories, just to come home. She's not domesticated, Halverson said slowly. No, Rebecca agreed. She's not. But she's also not wild anymore. The director turned to Ranger Martinez, who gave a single, firm nod. She doesn't think she's a pet, he said. She thinks she's family. The air was still for a long moment. Then Halverson sighed. We've never issued this kind of permit before. But this is an unprecedented case. She reached into her bag and pulled out a thick folder. A new category. Not a domestic license. Not a wildlife possession permit. A research and behavioral study authorization. Pending compliance with strict conditions. Michael's heart skipped. Meaning? She stays, under supervision. Outdoor habitat must be expanded. You'll allow annual inspections and contribute data for ongoing study. And she never leaves this land without an escort. Luna let out a choked cry and hugged Rebecca. Scout, sensing the emotion, patted over and rested her head on Luna's foot. Director Halverson bent down. She's still a bobcat, but she's also something new. A bridge between worlds. And for the first time in weeks, the Thompsons could breathe again. New beginnings. The Thompson farm changed in ways no one could have predicted. Within 2 months, the new outdoor enclosure was complete. A sprawling habitat nearly the size of a small playground, designed with help from wildlife biologists. It featured climbing posts made from fallen trees, hidden shelters tucked into boulders, and a stream that ran down from the northern ridge. Scout could roam freely between the enclosure and the main property, always under the watchful eyes of her family. Michael installed motion cameras throughout the area, both for research and reassurance. The footage captured remarkable moments. Scout chasing butterflies with Blitz, napping beside Ranger under the oak tree, or wrestling a tug toy with Maple while Luna laughed in the background. Visitors started coming. At first, just neighbors and curious locals, then students, then researchers. Once, word got out that the dog-raised bobcat was part of an official behavioral study. Schools and colleges began scheduling field trips. Michael found himself giving impromptu lectures on interspecies, imprinting, and animal cognition. Rebecca organized workshops on wildlife rehabilitation and responsible rescue practices. They weren't just Scout's guardians anymore. They were her storytellers. For Luna, the transformation was even deeper. At 14, she began documenting Scout's story in a scrapbook-turned-journal, filled with photos, sketches, and detailed notes. She spoke at her school's science fair and won first prize for her presentation, When Nature Changes Its Mind. Every page of her journal reflected one truth. This wasn't a story about a bobcat pretending to be a dog. It was about what happens when love rewrites expectations. I want to be a zoologist, she told her parents one night, curled beside the hearth with Scout at her feet. Michael smiled. I think you already are. Still, the rhythms of life returned to a kind of normal. Chores were done, fences mended, dogs fed. But with Scout back, everything felt lighter, whole again. At dusk, it became a ritual. Scout would climb to her favorite rock on the east edge of the property and sit, eyes scanning the land like a sentinel. Ranger often joined her, the two of them, still and strong, watching the horizon together. She's not waiting anymore, Rebecca said once, standing beside Michael. No, he replied. She's guarding it. The land, the family, the bond that had brought her back. It was all hers now, in the way only love could claim. In her heart, Scout was still wild, still a bobcat, but she was more than that too. She was a Thompson, and this was home, legacy and reflection. A year passed and the Thompson farm became more than a sanctuary. It became a symbol. Scout had fully grown into a majestic adult bobcat, her frame powerful and graceful, Her coat now a rich mix of gold, tawny brown, and black rosettes. Her eyes remained a fierce amber, yet their gaze had softened, especially when fixed on Luna or the dogs. Michael's research paper, co-authored with Dr. Velasquez, was published in a leading wildlife behavior journal, titled Pack Bonding in a Non-Canid Feline, a case study of interspecies socialization. It sparked global discussions. Emails flooded in from scientists, conservationists, and students, some with curiosity, others with skepticism, but all with wonder. Scout's story was now in textbooks. Her videos, once a viral sensation, became case material in behavioral studies courses. Universities invited the Thompsons to speak, and Luna, though still just a teenager, stood beside professors and field experts, explaining how a dying kitten had defied evolution not by instinct, but by love. But while the world buzzed, life on the farm remained grounded. Every morning, Scout would rise with the dogs, stretch languidly, then follow them out to make the rounds. She checked the chicken coop, sniffed the garden fence, and occasionally pounced into a snowdrift, just to prove she could. She never strayed far. The wilderness that had once called her so strongly now stood as background, not destination. Sometimes she sat at the edge of the enclosure, watching birds flit through the sky or deer grazing in the distance. Michael used to worry she might leap the fence one day and vanish again, but she never did. "She's not caged," Luna once said. "She's chosen." Rebecca built a small education center beside the enclosure, a cozy cabin with Scout's story told in pictures, sketches, and artifacts. Visitors could read Luna's handwritten journal, see the torn GPS collar, or watch videos of Scout learning to bark. Kids would gasp, laugh, and ask questions. Most walked away with a new understanding, not just of animals, but of connection. One evening, as a soft orange glow fell over the valley, Luna and Michael stood at the top of the ridge. Below them, Scout sat beside Ranger, both watching the farm bathed in twilight. Maple and Blitz chased each other through the grass, their playful barks echoing faintly. "She changed everything," Luna whispered. Michael nodded. "And she gave it all back." Because what Scout had done, what she had proven, was something no chart or graph could ever fully explain. She had returned not because she was trained or tamed, but because she was loved. And in that love, she had found not just safety, but purpose, identity, family. Scout wasn't just a story of survival. She was the reminder that sometimes the deepest belonging comes not from the wild we're born into, but from the hearts that welcome us home. Scout's journey teaches us something powerful, something that echoes far beyond the fences of a farm in Montana. Sometimes, what defines family isn't biology or species, but loyalty, care, and the courage to return even when the world says you shouldn't. Whether you're raising a child, caring for a pet, or navigating your own path, remember, the heart will always recognize where it belongs. In life, we often feel pulled in different directions. Instinct versus responsibility, expectations versus connection. But love has the quiet strength to lead us through rivers, highways, and even heartbreak. Like Scout, we all face moments when we must choose between what's expected and what's right for our soul. At Paw Prints and Stories, we believe in sharing tales that inspire compassion, bridge differences, and remind us that sometimes the most extraordinary journeys begin with a single act of kindness. If Scout's story touched your heart, stay with us for more stories that prove love doesn't follow rules. It creates new ones. Now we ask you this: if someone you love lost their way, would you trust they'd find the path back to you?